Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Elden Ring and another episode of things that you probably don't know or might not know about Elden Ring. Again, if you guys haven't seen these videos before, then this is where we go over some of the lesser known gameplay mechanics. Sometimes there are secrets, different things that you may well have played through the entire game and just simply not known. We've done some videos on this before. This is episode 4. If you guys have missed the previous ones, I will link some of them in the description box down below. Massive shout out to you guys for the awesome support so far, but let's not waste any time. This week, some of the points are from us and some of them are from you guys, the community. If you have any more suggestions, then by all means drop them in the comments and we may make a future episode if there are enough interesting things that we have yet to cover. First things first, in at number 1, super quick one, but actually very handy. Of course, as you guys know, running around does consume stamina, and if you want to regenerate your stamina or you run out, then naturally it replenishes at a moderate rate. But did you know that if you do a quick crouch whilst running, it will actually give you a boost to your stamina recovery? As you can see here, quick little down-up motion, and you continue running, and admittedly the sort of a fast regen is only whilst you're crouching, but as you can see, the actual regain in that small instance is actually quite substantial, so if you are in a situation where you are running for your life, then a quick crouch might just save you. Moving on from there to point number 2, this one is a really cool interaction coming from Ketzer1973. Says if you take the Ash of War Stormcaller and you put it onto a weapon that has frostbite and or blood loss buildup, the wind itself will also proc those effects, which is actually really cool. Try to sort of test this in a variety of different situations. Of course, there is some movement with your weapon itself during this animation, but if you can perform it backwards to try and sort of mitigate the fact that your weapon is attacking, then you can definitely see the wind does 100% apply some of these effects, which is pretty sweet. Moving on from there to point number 3 from Zacko. This one is actually pretty cool. I'm sure a lot of you guys are very familiar with the Golden Vow buff, one of the 2 most noteworthy buffs you'll often use to boost your damage. Golden Vow and of course Flame Grant Me Strength are the ones people will typically use. But did you know if you take a Great Bow and you also use the Great Arrows, specifically the Golden Great Arrow, this is actually in the weapon description, but sometimes if you don't necessarily read it, you can often miss some of these subtle mechanics. This one says that it is imbued with an oath sworn incantation, which boosts the attack and defense of the archer and their nearby allies. So if you take this arrow and you fire it into the ground, or of course if you're playing co-op or PvP and you fire it at the feet of your teammates, you get a buff that is similar to Golden Vow, boosting your attack and defense. This next one is just a super subtle interaction, but it's actually really cool. I absolutely love the attention to detail in this game, and Zephyr Fluus says, regarding weapon changes due to armor, you hold great swords and colossal weapons slightly differently when you're wearing the twinned armor due to the fact there is a second head on your chest. As you can see here, this is what the normal holding stance looks like, and this is what it looks like if you are wearing the twinned armor set, and of course if we then swap back and forth very quickly, you can actually see it changes on the fly. Honestly, I think this is really cool, because if this were other games, you probably would just find that the weapon would clip through the helmet because of course they are all just using the same animation, but these small attentions to detail are actually really special. Another one, this is more of a useful tip, not really a hidden feature per se, but Olivia mentions that the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation Talisman, which of course all of you guys would have used if you run, say, poison builds, it's the one that of course will give you an attack boost if poison or rot is in the vicinity. They mentioned that if you take the raw meat dumplings, they are a very easy to craft item that will heal you, but they will also poison you for a good amount of time. And in doing so, this then gives you the ability to basically benefit from this attack boost. They said they haven't heard anyone talk about this one, but it got them huge amounts of damage with their build. Of course, if you are running with a poison weapon, then naturally you can also apply poison to the enemy, but if you're running, say, with something where maybe you have a different affinity focus, popping this to give you some additional poison, thus some additional damage, is actually quite a nice tip. This next one, I'm sure all of you guys have encountered it. I'm sure many of you guys do know this one, but it is still worth mentioning because sometimes you can again pass by these things and not really notice. But if you have ever noticed enemies with glowing eyes, when you kill them, they will give you a bunch more runes. As you can see here, this is the default rune gained for killing an enemy, and if you find one with the glowing eyes and you take them out, that is a whopping boost. If you guys cast your mind back to last week's episode, we spoke about how swinging your weapon towards the edge of a cliff will not allow you to fall off, and you can then use this to basically navigate across the invisible bridges like the one in the Mountaintops of the Giants region. However, Divyam said one of the other easy ways to go about this is using Hoarfrost Stomp, because that will also reveal the secret bridge in the Mountaintop of the Giants. And as you can see, gives you a very clear pathway, knowing exactly where it is safe to walk. Anytime it does not cast, that is of course a fall to your doom. Following on from there, another really awesome interaction. If any of you guys have got Latenna the Albinauric summon, this one, if you actually have this and go and take it to somewhere like Carrier Manor, where there are Direwolves, and you summon this, typically this is one of those summons that will not move around freely. They will stay rooted to the ground, and they will of course fire off arrows, but if there is a Direwolf nearby, they will actually tame it and jump on the back. Keep in mind it has to be a Direwolf, it can't just be the random wolves you find around the world, so this does have a very limited use case, but still it is pretty awesome, and it makes sense given that of course the description for this says Latenna was renowned as a deft magic archer, but having lost her beloved wolf companion Lobo, she cannot move from the place where she was summoned, unless of course she finds a new wolf. Following on from there, another really interesting interaction with incantations and elements. If you guys caught our video before, you will know that the weather can definitely impact the damage that your incantations will do, but also relevant to this video, if you take a lightning incantation and you throw it into water, it will actually have a bonus effect. This is what the lightning incantation normally looks like if you throw it into solid ground. Meanwhile, if you throw it into water, you will see that it interacts with the water and basically creates this AoE circle, which will attack in a wider radius. This is super cool. It won't necessarily do astronomical damage, but it is a nice interaction given that of course you're striking water with lightning. And then finally, to round things out, don't forget to use your crouch attacks. Crouch attacks are quick attacks you can do with your weapon, which will typically mirror the running attack you perform with any weapon. This is often something people overlook because, you know, naturally speaking, crouching in the middle of combat doesn't sort of come naturally to most people. But if you do take some of the bigger weapons, things say like colossal swords, which of course have very slow, wide sweeps, they have a very nice fast poke. So working these into combat can actually be a very useful and viable strategy depending on the weapon that you're using. So basically, work crouch attacks in to your combats. But that, my friends, it's pretty much it. That's a little roundup again of some things that either you may not have known or just some useful tips that you might want to consider adding to your playstyle. Again, if you have any more submissions, by all means let me know in the comments down below. If you've missed any of our recent videos, be sure to check out one of these linked on screen. And of course, don't forget to keep it locked for plenty more Elden Ring.